Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. There's Ken's Jeep, and I just got it tucked under a snowblower here. Got it finally broken in real good today. Just started up the fresh engine. You can sneak a peek under there. Got a fresh rebuild in there. I'll show you more on that when I get it back outside again. And I think you can see under the tarp there, Matt, my buddy Mike, and myself this weekend unloaded a few treasures from a shop going out of business, and there'll be more on that as I uncover them and move those machines into the barn. So let's just walk through here. Picked up a nice anvil at that same place, and I am starting on another L head. I got it right here, and I'm going to set up on the tripod and show you a few things and talk about this particular engine. This is out of a CJ3A, I believe, but it's getting the treatment, and we'll talk about some of the valves and stuff first, and then flip it over and try and get that crank out. I gotta get the crank sent out so we could keep moving on this one. Okay, guys, when this engine came in, the owner of it thought he might be able to get it running, so I have him out. But he put new springs in, put new guides in, new valves, and they thought he could get it fired up. But then when he figured out he had no compression in there, he just called it quits. We got to bore it and put some oversized pistons. But a couple things I want to show you, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but when you put your guides in and you ream them, that valve is very sticky. This one, that one's hard to even pull in and out. This one, that one's not too bad. Okay. That one, when that gets hot, it'll expand, it'll lock right up. These are very, very snug in there. So we know our ream isn't any good on those. I don't know what kind of valves these are. Some valves hold better tolerances than others. I imagine this is not a bad valve, but probably a lesser quality valve. And I don't know, I got to check and make sure the guides are at the right height and everything. But don't worry about, like I use a 374 and a 375 reamer. If your valve won't work with that, measure everything real carefully, and do not have valves like that. They won't last. You'll fire the engine up, everything will get hot, and it'll lock right up. So be very careful on your ream of your guides. And the next thing is, well, we could check a couple of these. He just kind of lapped these in. Took a little bit of valve grinding compound, lapped them in. And when you do that, you don't really know where you're at. So let's pull a vacuum on some of these guys and see where we're at. Like I say, you lose horsepower here, and that's not what you want to do. So this is our first exhaust. Not too bad on that one. This is the next exhaust. Let's see. A little light on that one. Not too bad on that one. Swivel this guy around so we can check some intakes. Okay, we'll check these intakes. I think you can see that. We got nothing on those intakes. Check these guys. Not terrible. My point being, like it is, when I show you guys valve work, take your time, get it right. If you have the equipment, pull a vacuum on those. Make sure they're seated good. These are not terrible, but we can clean them up and make them a lot better. Like I say, you don't want to lose horsepower just because you don't take the time and do your valves right. Now I'm going to pull these valves out. They're brand new. This engine never ran. I measured the cylinders. This is a standard bore. I really like to get standard bore engines. Standard bore is 3.125, 3 1/8 inch diameter. This number 1 was the biggest, and it's 3.155. So we really got to jump up from standard to. I'm probably going to go with 40 over pistons in this. The top here is just so wallowed out on all of them that we're really going to have to jump at least to a 40. I'll know better once I get the pistons out and run the bore gauge up and down. But we're really going to have to make a jump. So next thing I want to do is get everything stripped off this engine, get the crank out, get that sent out to my crankshaft company, and have them do their magic on it. And then we'll begin cleaning the block. So we're making progress on this and trying to stick with it. Like I say, Ken's L head is running perfect, and it's just about ready to go. I got to pinstripe the wheels on that, and if anybody's interested in seeing the pinstriping, just shoot me a comment. Let me know if you want to see it or not. Some of my videos guys don't really watch or anything, but if anybody's interested in the pinstriping, just let me know, and I can put that out there. But let's flip this guy over and take the pan off and start removing all kinds of accessories. Okay guys, we just got the pan off, and we'll check out, see what kind of sludge we got in there. Pretty standard. That's usually what you get in these old engines. So pretty junky in there, but we'll send that through the parts washer, get that nice and clean. If you guys are trying to start an old engine or you're trying to save an old engine, just remember that the oils back then weren't as good as they are now, and you're going to be dealing with this stuff, and it's very easy to get that drawn up into your pickup screen and start clogging that up. So if you got low oil pressure on an engine, that's maybe 60 years old, 70 years old, something like that, you got low oil pressure. A lot of times it's just that screen sludged up, and you don't want this stuff running through your engine anyway. But I see more and more guys that just start up old engines. They put modern detergent oil in them, and it disintegrates all this stuff, and it starts flowing through the oil system, and before you know it, you gotta you wipe your engine right out. So just be conscious of what you're doing when you're dealing with an old engine. This one, I feel it's a good thing it didn't start. Like I say, the valves were too tight, and with the wrong oil, this stuff would get loosened right up and be circulating through the engine, just wipe everything out. So just trying to give you guys a few tips if you're dealing with these old L heads. I do a lot of them, and trying to prevent guys from making mistakes. So we'll keep tearing on with this one and see what the crank looks like. Okay guys, I made it down to the crankshaft on this engine, and it's not very often that you don't have to grind your crank. Every now and again you'll get lucky and you just polish one. This one is in very bad shape. It's very rough. Might be able to hear how it's catching my fingernail there. That's in rough shape. And we got a lot of discoloration here, and the grooves are very deep. This one's bad too. The rod journals seem to have taken more abuse than the mains, but this rear main is pretty rough, and the front one as well. So pretty standard as far as what needs to happen. We'll get that off to the crank grinder, and it'll come back on size perfectly. I don't know how far they're going to have to go to clean it up, but I would imagine a little more than 10. I think this is standard. I haven't measured it yet, but the whole engine has been standard. So I imagine it'll come back 20 if it's standard. And this had a rope rear seal in it. And if you've been following along, you know in Ken's Jeep he bought a best gasket kit. I sent the crank out and had it built up to the right size so that the best seal will work. You guys putting rear main seals in, it's my experience the best gaskets are too big. The rear main seals are too big. They don't crush enough, and you'll have a leak immediately upon startup. I've been through this in a lot of other videos about rear main seals. Do your homework on rear main seals before you put one in, and save yourself a lot of grief. But we're going to call it quits here today on this one, and I'll be back with you tomorrow, and we'll get the cam out and inspect that, pull the lifters out and inspect those, and get busy cleaning that block up and getting it ready for machining. So I will catch you tomorrow. Okay guys, it's a new day, and we're just getting ready to pull the crank out. I'm going to pull this gear off first, and I've showed this in the past before, but don't bang that off with a hammer. I see too many guys mangle these up with a hammer. Get yourself a puller set up. It's just two 7/16 bolts in here and a standard puller. Got an impact gun here. We're just going to pull that right off. It's easy to do with the puller. Don't make it any harder than it has to be on yourself by hammering it off. We'll pull that woodruff key out, and I don't see any shims back there. There may be one, and we'll check our shims, and we'll get this crank out and get it off to the crank grinder. Okay guys, got the crank out, got everything measured up. It is a standard crank. It hasn't been turned yet. It is grooved up real bad, but I'm hoping they can clean everything up in 10. This one's pretty deep. We just have to see. We're a little light on our measurements by half a thou to a thou. So I'm thinking 10, but we'll see what happens. Now I want to go over here to the rear main seal area, and I know it seems like we're beating a dead horse, but this is really corroded and not smooth at all. Now there was a rope seal in here, and a rope seal can handle this kind of stuff and still seal. If you were to put a neoprene seal on there, it wouldn't work. And you know, because I've made a lot of rear main seal videos, there are no good rear main seals out there. On Ken's Jeep that I just finished up with that L head, I had the guys weld and grind that larger to fit the best gasket seal. Best gaskets have not been working for me. And this seal area is factory measurement, 2 inches, 310 thousandths. and we have to take them to 2-inch 335 to make the best gasket rear main seal work. So that's what we're going to have to do on this one. It would have to be welded and ground anyway because it's got deep grooves in it and stuff. But I will show you the crank when it comes back. And in the meantime, we'll get cleaning the block and doing the machine work on that. So we're going to end this one here today. And thanks for watching, everybody. And I will catch you on the next video.